What's it like to eat in a Chinese restaurant in China with Chinese people? Well, generally, you're sitting at a round table with a lazy Susan, sometimes motorized, sometimes manual. There's a lot of conversation, laughing, and camaraderie. Food is brought out and placed on the lazy Susan. There doesn't seem to be any pattern to what is served, none that I noticed. There's no meat course and then a fish course and so on. I could be wrong, but it seems random. Dishes are served until they stop being served, and you help yourself to whatever's passing by. Shortly after I took that video, they started pouring the wine. I get asked what it's like to work with international students, and the answer is they are first and foremost teenagers. Cultural differences, yes, but if you're familiar with that species of young person, they are absolutely teenagers. And I would say that my experiences in China were similar. Different customs, but the people were the same as anywhere else, to make an obvious point. Once you get past that initial awkwardness and the language barrier, you find out how friendly the Chinese are, that they're very hospitable, that they're very proud of their history, that I noticed, and that they cherish their traditions. And since this was a business trip, I got a different experience than if I had gone as a tourist, and that was a real privilege. With that privilege came some culture shock. I was at the Beijing train station on my first full day there at 6 a.m. and we sat down to eat. Now I do like dumplings, but I had never had 30 of them for breakfast before. That was just a minor culture shock, not a big deal. It's when we got to our destination that I got the official welcome to China. We were visiting a school in Handan, which is about 450 kilometers south of Beijing, and after that visit we had an official lunch with some school representatives. And we sit down to eat, and the food starts going past on the lazy Susan, and I didn't recognize anything on this table. Now, I knew the food would be different, but you don't know what you don't know, if you know what I mean. It's near impossible to imagine a food you never tried before. Everything I ate at this meal was unlike anything I'd ever had before. Whether it was the taste, the texture, the aroma, it was all different. I'd bite down into something unknown. Is that cartilage? That makes this dish crunchy. And I would look down on the table and say to myself, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. It took me a few meals to start acclimating myself. Honestly, a few days. And if I'm being more honest, I've been there 3 times and I'm still acclimating myself. But I'm getting better. By the time I took my 3rd trip, I was eating a whole lot more than the first. Which brings us to the getting drunk and throwing up story. This was in the city of Harbin on my first trip. Now, the drinking culture in China is a really interesting thing to witness. In Canada, usually you make one toast at the beginning of an event, and that's it. But in China, every few minutes, someone is making a toast. You're clinking glasses the entire meal. And on top of the general toasting during the meal, a few people would come up to me individually and say something like, "Welcome to China," or "Welcome to Harbin," and I'd say thank you. And it's this nice little moment I'm having with somebody, and then you clink glasses, and bottoms up, you empty your glass. Now, bottoms up, I don't know if that's a thing in China, but I was told it was a thing. You empty your glass at the end of every toast, which I did because I wanted to make an impression, and I sure did make an impression. Like I said, I wasn't eating a lot this first trip, and I'd had more wine that meal than I'd ever had ever in my life, but somehow I made it to the bathroom in time to throw up. So the meal is over. I staggered to the car. Our driver, this guy was a saint. He somehow got me to my room, and I was so out of it, I couldn't even find my room key. It was in my hand. The next day, I'm incredibly hungover, and my driver, this guy was awesome. He took me on a tour of Harbin. So this is us in a cable car over the Songwa River. And this is me in front of the Sophia Cathedral in a central square. So he took me on a tour of the old part of the city, which was really nice of him to do. But I did redeem myself on my 3rd trip. I was eating a lot more, and on this one particular evening, they weren't serving wine, they had baijiu, which is sometimes called Chinese vodka. It's a clear liquid, and it's got a higher alcohol content than wine, but it's served in these tiny, tiny little shot glasses. So they sit me next to the headmaster, and he motions to me, he puts out 3 fingers. Like he doesn't just want to toast me once, he wants to toast me 3 times in a row. And in my head, I'm thinking to myself, oh, here we go again. But it all worked out fine. I had about 7 or 8 shots, and I think I made a good impression. I hope I did. So after 3 trips, I think I've acclimated myself enough. If they send me back, I'm ready. And one final detail about what it's like to eat with Chinese people in China. Now, this happened more than once, so it might be a thing. But when the meal is over, it's over instantaneously. Everyone just stands up and leaves the room. It's not like with Italians where we take 20 minutes to leave. You got to kiss everybody and shake their hand. God forbid you miss anybody on the way out. But in China, the meal is over now. You stand up, everyone says their goodbyes on the way out the door, and the room empties in under 30 seconds. All right, that's everything for today. Don't miss part 2 of my Tales from China coming soon. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you have any questions or comments, you can reach me through Facebook or Instagram. Until next time.